So playing outside, what does it really mean? Well, if you took people like Miles Davis, when they decided to, and Coltrane to some extent, push the barriers, especially when what they had is backing tracks with jazz funk, which often featured one or two chords with none of the harmonic changes that jazz was used to, that would let it flow from one place to another. And so therefore, what do? Do they just play pentatonic scales? Do they play majors and minor scales? Do they use modes? What do? Well, it's a combination of all of it. They might use modes or scales to create what I would say is the melodic structure, but then they'd wander outside and they'd put in chords that were out of key because they could, and that meant that you could move into the areas which eventually became free jazz. And what I want to do is just show you one way of possibly doing this. This is on one chord, which is B minor, so it's B Dorian, really. And I'll just use a guitar that wouldn't have been used very much for jazz if you think about the traditional jazz stuff. But in this case, it just kind of suits the genre slightly. The other thing, if you like this, please like and subscribe. So this is, just imagine you're in a New York club and the soloist is going to let go and wander around all of the keys. This was started, in early days with the bebop guys like Charlie Parker, but just imagine what you can do once you let your imagination wander outside all of the specific grooves. So what I'm going to do is put this backing track on. see what I did there? I just wandered through putting phrases on top of other pages, and sometimes that took it completely outside. And it's a way of playing outside. So if you then want to imagine that and then put it into an environment where there are chord changes and there are structures, what you can do is, as it moves, or as something moves through the chords, you could think of taking part of that chord structure completely outside, maybe once in 3 or 4 verses or choruses, as jazz players like to do. So I just wanted to give you some examples of playing outside. A lot of that is using semitones to move up or down. So a lot of it, for instance, would be so it's giving you that movement there and taking you outside the key. But what you don't want to do is try and create situations where you're taking it to is suggesting many leaps of faith, because somehow that ends up sounding like a mess. What I mean by that is if let's say that was in B, you know, that's simple. But if I do this, doesn't sound as if I know where I'm going, because I can't see where the resolution is. So you still, even when you play outside, you want to think about where you're going to resolve. And you can wander outside for a long time, but remember where you might want to resolve all of this when it comes back into the main sequence. And that might, you know, that is just, that's a funk stroke jazz backing track with all of the illusions. And so you've got to think about Charlie Parker playing over that, Dizzy Gillespie, but you know, Miles Davis, all the people that took it. McCoy Tyner was somebody particularly I would think about who would go outside, you know. As a keyboard player. A lot of that stuff, chromatics come in very useful. Don't try and think too seriously about modes or whole tone, half tone scales or anything like that, because what you're trying to do is let your imagination run when playing outside. Anyway, if you like that, please like and subscribe, and I'll put up another video probably within the next week. Thanks very much.